Welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. Hi, I'm Iris Acker, and I'm your host tonight. Let's meet our panel. Michael McKeever, an award-winning playwright and actor. Karen Stevens, an award-winning actress. And Bill Hirschman, an award-winning arts journalist. And before we meet our guest, I want you to join me on stage at Actors Playhouse for a short performance for Theater for Young Audiences. Meet Earl Maulding, who is the director of children's theater at Actors Playhouse. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Director of the Children's Workshops, Conservatory, and director of the Theater for Young Audiences. So let's talk. Let's go backwards with Theater for Young Audiences. What is that?
Well, it's we try to delineate that from perhaps children's theater. And a lot of times children's theater, in my opinion, is children performing theater. But in this case, we have professional adults performing for young audiences and families. And it's part of the programming that we do where in some of those instances, like the piece you just saw, it was professional adults, but there are also some advanced young people getting professional experience in that particular production.
And the conservatory?
Conservatory program, we start at age 5. We have a variety of classes beginning at age 5 and right on up and including adults. We have a lot of adults that want to expand their horizons no matter what their career is, and the acting they find helps them do that.
Now there's a lot of history here. Let's go back, 1998?
Actually, a little bit longer than that.
Okay.
88.
88.
Yeah. 30 years the theater is celebrating, and it's been an amazing ride. And fortunately, I've had the opportunity to be there since the beginning and watch the amazing growth of the organization.
I was going to say, so you started when you were 8. That's really impressive.
Wow, you're kind. Thank you. You can keep saying those things. Yeah.
It's wonderful, though, to be able to say that, isn't it?
Oh, and it's so rare. And a lot of people that find out that David, the artistic director, Barbara, our executive producing director, and I, literally, pretty much from the beginning, have been the 3 leading forces, along with, of course, Dr. Stein, our chairman of the board, behind the organization, and that's given it a very strong through line.
Classes. What do you do with 5-year-olds?
Well, we offer two programs. We offer what we call a Let's Make Believe class, and basically we tell the parents at the first day, you know, we're going to help your young people learn to channel that energy that you know they have. So at that age, we begin to talk with them about proper breathing, proper breath support, and working on their diction through vocal exercises. Fun vocal exercises that we have them do, and then taking the physicality and approaching acting from a physical standpoint at that age, because we all know kids understand spatial relations, big, small, fast, slow, dark, light. That's how they see their world. So we utilize that to help them begin to discover, I'm not going to say that they're excellent when they're done, but begin to discover some things about being a performer on stage.
But they do learn to perform, to act, sing, and dance?
And that's in the song and dance class. Yes, we are teaching them basic musical theater steps they'll use for the rest of their lives, doing short voice classes as part of that. We're, again, working on proper breath support, diction, learning how to, in this case, not read music, but, again, to learn lyrics and sing them and then combine it with dancing.
I'm very impressed, considering 30 years ago it was just you.
Yes, when we first started, it was just me, and fortunately, I now have professional actors. We hire professional actors to come and teach, some of the best actors working in South Florida. And the other interesting thing is that we have 3 theater spaces, all our professional theater spaces, our black box, our balcony theater, and main stage, and that's where the classes happen. So when the kids come to see a show, they're like, wow, I want to be up there, and literally, they are during classes.
How many different classes are there, and what are those classes?
Well, for the young ones, we offer the Let's Make Believe and Song and Dance, and then we offer different levels as they're able to progress through the age. And then for the 9 to 12-year-olds, we offer an acting for the stage, we offer a musical theater class, and an acting for the camera class at different levels.
What about teenagers? Do you have any programs for?
Well, the teenagers, I actually direct a program that's our most advanced. It's called the Musical Miracles, and it's our youth repertory company. A very unusual situation. Once a year we do auditions, and we add new members. And we have a saying, once a miracle, always a miracle. So they can return. But we work for 9 months of the year. That group, it's like a youth repertory company, so they get to know each other, learn each other's weaknesses, and help each other discover new strengths. And it's a very welcoming, family-oriented thing. We meet every Saturday, and we'll have a show ready in about 3 weeks already to start performing with that particular
so
group.
the children perform themselves. Is it different than the Saturday morning performances? Those are your theater for young audiences, isn't it?
On Saturday afternoons, we do,
Saturday
again,
afternoons.
professional adults, and then a couple times a year during the holidays, and in the summer, we accentuate the show so we can do a little larger shows with some young performers by audition. And the way we handle those auditions is I send out materials to the kids rather than saying, you have to bring in a song, you have to bring in a monologue. It puts everybody kind of on the same page and gives them the confidence that, okay, everybody that's coming in has had the same opportunity to practice and go over this, and we're all starting from the same place. So our classes, you know, quite honestly, we try to pull back on the performance anxiety about the classes. At the very last day of classes, we do what's called an open class. Because I don't feel at that age that pressure of having to perform is valuable, because that's at that level, it's not really what we're teaching. We then offer the opportunity to audition to be in a show.
Wow.
To audition, to do something to the next level if the child and the parent feels that that's appropriate and they want to invest the time. So, you know, it takes the pressure on it and makes it a little more fun.
So it's
you
not
know, for them.
automatic that the children in a class are automatically going to be in the show.
No.
Well, it could be tough.
You've been doing this a long time, and working with young people, working with anybody over a long period of time can be exhausting. How do you recharge personally?
That's a very good question. It was something I did when I was young. And I had people that were there for me and then it encouraged me and excited me about it. And I guess I always just think back to that. Plus, I mean, my gosh, when you see these young people and they come up to you and they go, well, can I be in the show? Or you tell them you're going to be in the show and they're like, I am, and that excitement and that immediately, gets in you and you're ready to go. Or when you see them, especially with my Miracles group, when you see them, they've been working and working and working on trying to get this new vocal part of their voice. And they find it, and that discovery, that day in a rehearsal, I'm just like, I'm doing the happy dance. And I say, that gets the happy dance, I'm dancing and dancing. And the whole group just goes crazy for them. That's, or with the talent competition, when you see somebody, do something amazing and see growth, that excites me.
Yeah. The talent competition, Young Talent, Big Dreams, I was fortunate enough to judge that this past
thank you
year.
very
It was
much.
really, really awesome. It's amazing to see the talent that these young people have. How did that get started?
Well, it was a collaboration between Barbara Stein, our executive director, and from the Children's Trust, Emily Cardenas. They got together and thought, and they brought me in, and we kind of talked, and they had this idea of how can we, because the arts programs, and this was about 8 years ago, are being cut. In schools, and the musicians aren't having as many opportunities, and the performers. What can we do, and how can we reach out to the underprivileged communities within Miami-Dade County specifically because of the trust? How can we do that? And we came up with this idea to have a talent competition where, there's 9 different categories, and they come in and they do an initial audition in a professional theater, and there are judges there, but the first time they come on audition, it's just the judges, so it's very much more low-key. Again, the idea, the pressure of an audience is not there at the beginning level. So that's how it got started, and we go to we have generally 6 or 7 different dates, different locations throughout Miami-Dade to make it easy to everyone to get to the auditions, and it's an amazing
Yeah, I've also
thing.
had the pleasure of being a judge once yet, and it's fascinating. Fascinating.
It occurs to me because you've been doing this for 30 years, and I know firsthand a number of theater professionals who started working with you and just rave about the experience. You know, what is that like? It must be very rewarding for you to see people that you knew at whatever 12, 13 years old, and to see that they've grown and developed into these professional theater professionals.
I mean, and you ask about, you know, where do you get the? I mean, that's another, you know. We all work in this industry, and we don't plan to get rich, but gosh, I have to tell you, my soul, my heart, my entire being is rich by having touched these young people's lives at some point. And if I had any small part in that, oof, that's an overwhelming thing. Yeah, it is quite amazing. And especially now, after all these years, I've had young people that took classes and did shows. They've gone off to college. They've gone off to work professionally, but the one thing they want to do, come back to their home theater and perform. They call it their home.
Yeah.
It's great.
That's wonderful. Wonderful.
One of the things is, it seems interesting that public school teachers who teach theater arts and are the advisor to drama clubs often come up through the educational ranks. And while they've always been interested in the arts, they never thought this is what they would be doing. Mm-hmm. But people like you come out of this from the arts. Do you see yourself as an educator? And if so, what have you learned that, about how to teach children? How do you teach children what you want them to know?
You say educator, and the first word that popped into my head is more of an exciter about the process, exciting them about the idea of becoming someone else. They can already do it.
Yeah,
it's just finding
children.
some better than others. You know, there's those ones that had that natural thing that you can't teach.
Right.
And then there are others that have the skills and you have to work them along. I think in never sacrificing the excellence that you want from them. Mm-hmm. And expecting them to rise to a certain level rather than saying, oh, they're just kids. And that's the way I direct the shows as well. I don't direct my Theater for Young Audiences shows for, oh, they're just kids, you know, we're going to do this. It's just as professional, just as excellent as any, you know, I like to say as any professional production that's going on in anywhere in South Florida. And I think that's part of what it is, that I never give them the opportunity to not expect that they need to be excellent.
I see.
It showed in that little clip that we had, right? If they absorb any of your energy, they're ahead of the game. You know, I mean, you are so energetic, and it's wonderful because I think what happens, you can't help but absorb it.
Yeah.
You know, and you've given it to them as well. That's wonderful. So what can we expect that's different, perhaps? I mean, going way back and today, it's different, but how?
Well, I think the biggest difference, and you and I talked about this a little bit earlier, is there are so many more opportunities now for young people. When the theater first started, you know, we were the only game in town. You know, there was literally very little. Coconut Grove had some programs when we first started, and they had some ongoing. But as far as South Dade, where the theater started, in the Kendall, South Miami area, very little. So the theater came along and absolutely went right into that neighborhood and filled a niche, a need for young people that were interested in the theater. So there was a lot less, for lack of a better word, competition. But competition is not the right word. There's
I know
an
what you mean.
opportunity. Thank you. For the young people to have a place to learn and grow. So, and now I think the change has come in that I have been a real stickler that it's important that they go through classes first. And many of the young, you know, many of the children's theaters in the community first thing they do is they want to put them in a show. They want to put them in a show, and that's where they get their training, in a show. And I just think that the classroom is and to discover and to learn a little bit more about technique and what goes into creating a character and how to look at a script or a scene and make it come to life is important before you have to make it come to life. So
Absolutely, because you get to apply what you've learned, once you're on stage. I mean, that's, it's not putting the cart before the horse kind of thing,
And there's many high school programs and college programs that don't even let you perform as a freshman. When you go into their program, they're like,
New World School of the Arts is like that.
Right.
You cannot. The first time you're on stage as an actor is in your sophomore year.
yeah. So it's not along those same lines, but I think that probably between our programming and any other programming, and I'm not saying the other is incorrect, it's just something that I have felt was very important to try to establish for the young people, some guidelines, a basis to build from, rather than just throwing you into the building.
Well, it's in that time period when there have been other conservatories and programs have been created across the 3 counties, do you think that you've seen an increase in the interest? In other words, in 2017 or whenever we're taping this, do you get the sense that there is as much or less or more interest among young people in the performing arts?
I think more, quite honestly, and it's built because what has happened was a lot of the schools cut back on the choir, cut back on band, cut back on drama funding. But what has happened is it's kind of gone 360 degrees. Now, many of the schools have added magnet programs.
Yes.
A lot of magnet. And in some ways, maybe too many. But then I was thinking about that today before I came here. Is that really true? And I think it's just the way the funding has been able to find its way around for the administrators to say, well, we have a magnet. So then we get back, and then we are able to offer band and chorus and drama. So it's like they found a different way to, I don't know if you want to say brand it, and now it's happening
Brand is
again,
a
which
good
is
word,
great.
yeah.
Which is great, So that's the thing I think I've noticed is there are more opportunities now in the schools,
Right.
to do that.
Do you think there's more interest in the performing arts now because of the availability that it's more available on social media and the internet, and that people get to see, and TV, there are all of these performance-based shows on television, and you think that garners interest in young people?
I think so, and I think that's the interest in, for example, the talent competition. Young Talent, Big Dreams, and that's part of it because it's very similar. One of our winners was almost in the finals of America's Got Talent this year. Okay. So there is that connection between where can I go, and of course there's always the parents.
Yes.
Maybe a parent or two, but a lot of times these young people they're the ones that want to do it, and that does, you make a good point, that does allow them the opportunity to see examples of people like them doing something, and they're like, well, if they can do it,
Right.
why can't I?
Right.
Exactly.
And that's what the Young Talent is about, taking a chance on yourself, stepping on the stage and taking a chance and saying, I think I can do this, and we give them the opportunity, okay, here,
Good.
do it.
Look at you because you started as an actor. and look, this is a life.
Yeah,
And how much you enjoy it.
yeah, I do.
They can't help but enjoy it when they come to you because through osmosis, if nothing else.
It's infectious. I mean, look at this man.
It's contagious. That's the
Yeah.
word I'm looking
Exactly.
for. Contagious.
So Earl, so tell us, how do we find out about the conservatory at Actors Playhouse? How do we go about finding out? The classes?
Website is always the easiest.
That's great. What's the website?
It's actorsplayhouse.org. Pretty easy.
Yeah.
And there's different, links there, different pages to click on, both for our education program, for any auditions that we might be having. And not only do we have courses, we put them in shows if they're interested, and even sometimes in main stage shows that require young performers. So it's a progression level that we offer them the opportunity to partake in if they're interested.
I have to say too, and it comes from having an organization that's been around 30 years. I've had the pleasure of working at Actors Playhouse, and it's such a fun atmosphere. It's great people, a lot of fun, a lot of a lot of laughter, and it comes
recently-
from that kind of history, I suspect.
Just recently, Mona Lisa,
Mona Lisa.
Finding Mona Lisa, was performed. Playwright Michael McKeever there, and several others that you've done have been there as well.
Sure. In fact, I did a show there called Unreasonable Doubt about five years ago, and there was a young actress in it that Dave Risco found in your program, and she was wonderful. She was as professional as any of the adults in the cast. She was really good.
It's good to
Do
hear.
you encourage your students to make a life in the theater?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I say, why not? You can always go back and do something else if you find, and I also tell them, you never know. Like for myself, I started, wanting to perform, traveled around the country performing at this theater, that theater, came down here, did cruise ships, got off, did Ruth Foreman, did a bunch of different theaters, tried to do some film. Was not enamored of the process, so got back into live theater, and found my way. Did I ever expect that I was going to direct a program of young audiences for 30 years and have kids end up on Broadway and touring the world? No, but that's where my path took me. I found something, and I always encourage them. I say, if you find something you love, do it as hard and as steady and with every ounce of you that you can, and you're going to be happy.
I hope every parent hears what you're saying and follows through and encourages their children to follow their dreams, because that's what you're doing.
With so many distractions today, how do you maintain their focus, the students' focus, when they're there at the? Yeah.
I mean, with my advanced group, if we're speaking about phones, that is often put away, and if that ever comes up, they hear very clearly what is expected from them, very clearly, and in rehearsals as well. They understand, and the thing is, though, if you let them know in advance what's expected, and you then follow through.
Yes.
And the minute something happens, like, that's not acceptable here. They'll eventually fall into line, and then they don't have those distractions, and then they're able to commit even more.
What's the toughest part of the job? What is the challenge that you sometimes wonder? Am I achieving what I want? What is it that makes the job hard?
I guess when it comes to something where you do have an audition and you have to select, and I guess this is the problem with any director, and you have to select one over another, or you see someone that has a natural ability, but they don't have yet the focus necessary to do. Do you take a chance and think, and hopefully you can help them learn the focus.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can help them get where they need to be, and you don't always the first time, but maybe the second or third time you do. But I think probably making those choices, because sometimes you're making choices for young people, and it may, like you were saying, do you encourage them, and you may turn them off because you said, no, you're not ready at this point. But I always take notes. I always try to give them reasons, specific reasons. I don't just say, you're not in the show. I have notes, and if they're interested, I say, okay, vocally you need to do this on your acting, on your dance. So they have somewhere to grow to.
And the class and rejection.
Right.
Really, I mean, it's. I have a book that I've written, and I have a chapter on rejection.
Yeah.
And I think, very simply, what I taught, what I teach, is that you're never rejected. You think about it; it's another audition, another opportunity, and because you weren't right for that, at least you were seen. And I use as an example where 6 months, it was just a commercial, shouldn't say just, but it was a commercial and I didn't get it. 6 months later, I got a call saying, we couldn't use you for that, blah, blah. And I use that as an example all the time for teaching.
I always tell the actors at the end of an audition, I said, not all of you are going to get cast today. And it doesn't mean you're terrible or awful or you should never audition again. But for this particular time, for this particular project, this wasn't the right thing for you. But keep doing, keep trying, keep going. And it's the only way to learn anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good for you, yeah.
Yeah.
If they believe you and absorb that, yes. No,
Well,
because
yeah.
rejection is, I don't care what age it is. I remember going way back to grammar school, or whatever you call it, second grade, was the first opportunity for a lead, and I didn't get it. And I said that was my first rejection. I'll never forget it. I remember my rejection. Then, kids, it's so hard. It's
Yeah.
so hard, yeah.
But here you are.
I
Right.
look at me now.
There you are. Exactly. Earl, do you have any words of wisdom that you would give to a young actor who's, you know, a young man or woman, a kid who wants to work as a professional actor?
Well, the first thing I would say is express that to your parents, okay? And then when your parents give you the chance to do something, make the most of it. I tell all the young actors, you know, at the class, you know, before when we start classes, I said, be at the door, ready to go out the door, saying, "Mom, Dad, it's time to go." I said, you will freak your parents out. And I said, and then and the kids in the show, I tell them, do your homework. First thing when you get home, show your parents they've taken this chance on giving you this opportunity. Show them that you are ready for it, and they will give you opportunity after opportunity if you do that. So that's the thing, you know, once you have it, grab it, and don't get put off by rejection. Take it as, okay, what can I learn from
so
that?
much opportunity in theater.
Yeah.
And that's a wonderful thought. I mean, but they have to know the art of auditioning and the art of rejection. I feel both ends as far as that goes. And if you can deal with that, they can deal with anything.
Absolutely.
But I also encourage anybody who just have the desire, follow it. And I hope that you have the desire that we have performing for you today and for watching this show, and we'll continue to do so every week. And I encourage you to go to the theater and to find out what's happening in the theater. Go to FloridaTheaterOnStage.com and please continue to watch us every week right here on Spotlight on the Arts. Thank you, and thank you, Earl.